Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. I want to welcome to the show. Joining me today, we have Jaco Booyens, Blaze TV contributor, and of course, the founder of Jaco Booyens Ministries, which you guys should all go check out because they're doing tremendous work down at the border, helping. Now you have help. The federal government is actually should be helping you prevent trafficking across the border. So make sure to go check them out. It's helpjbm.org.
Yes.
Perfect. Oh. And then we have Eric July, of course, Blaze TV contributor and founder of Ripaverse Comics, which you guys should also go check out for a totally different reason.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want your woke-free comics. You know your guy. Okay, so we have good news. The good news is we do have the latest on the deportation tracker. Deportations day 14. This is 9,780. Yes. You can clap. Yes, you can clap. And many, many more to come. And I know there were a lot of you who were like, it's like the deportation tracker is stuck. It's stuck at 7,800 or whatever it was. Well, we wait till we get more official numbers before we want to update it because we would never want to provide just completely irrelevant information. And sometimes these things are slow to update. So we're watching every single day. We're watching all of these, more raids take place. We know that the deportations are happening, but we want to make sure that we bring you guys an actual number rather than conjecture. So we appreciate y'all's patience on that. And look, doesn't it feel good? We're almost to 10,000. Doesn't that feel good? See, it was worth the wait. So I want to talk to you guys about, we've still got some nominees that are yet to be confirmed, still going through this process. And we've got now RFK, who today he very, very tight squeeze advanced past the Senate Finance Committee with a 14-13 vote along party lines. So all of the Republicans fell in line, which is good. I don't want to be negative Nancy here. That is good. But wow. Too close. 14-13. So just barely. And so now he is going to go before the full Senate chamber in confirmation hearings to lead the Department of Health and Human Services. Now, the person who could have been the holdout, I want to go through this, that was Republican Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, who is also a physician. So he is an MD, and he took he had some concerns, of course, about RFK Jr.'s skepticism on vaccines. And so President Trump on Truth Social made this last minute appeal to Cassidy. He said 20 years ago, autism in children was 1 in 10,000. Now it's 1 in 34. Wow, something's really wrong. We need Bobby. Thank you, DJT. And then less than an hour after Trump's post, of course, Cassidy announced that he would vote to advance RFK Jr. He said, with the serious commitments I've received from the administration and the opportunity to make progress on the issues we agree on, like healthy foods and a pro-American agenda, I will vote yes. And so, I just am concerned because you see that and you're like, oh, okay, good. He fell in line. That's great. But he did say to reporters that he will meet with RFK. This is what he got from this negotiation with RFK Jr. He will meet with RFK Jr. multiple times per month. The CDC will not change vaccine advisory committee, so they won't be changing out who is on their committee or remove information from government websites saying that vaccines don't cause autism. That one rubs me a little bit the wrong way. And so I wanted to ask you guys, do you think that this is like a long game play of RFK Jr. that's like, all right, yeah, sure, I'll play ball. And knowing that he needs to go in there and revamp it, which by the way, RFK Jr., I want to be clear, RFK Jr. is not going to go in and immediately change the CDC website to say vaccines cause autism. He's not going to do that. What he is going to do is try to replicate the studies that they claim that they did that prove that vaccines do not cause autism, because there are a lot of questions, very, very well documented questions with the studies and how they were tampered with. Go watch the documentary on it. It's called Vaxxed. There was a senior CDC whistleblower who admitted that they shredded evidence to show that they had a statistically significant link between autism and the MMR shot, specifically, by the way, for Black babies, black boy babies, black male babies. So you're welcome to go do that research. But the point is, RFK Jr. is not going in there to just blow everything up day one. What he will do, I believe, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, gentlemen. What he will do, I believe, is say, okay, if they don't, then we can do this study right here again. Heck, let's do vaxxed versus unvaxxed. That's been done several different times. Bet you didn't know that. Let's do, a safety study with an actual true placebo of just saline rather than a separate vaccine. Okay, sure. If your vaccines are totally safe and effective, and if they don't cause more happenstance of allergies in children, of ADHD, of neurodevelopmental disorders, of all of these things that those other studies over there that were not government funded, they actually show. So, okay, great. If they don't do any of these things, then we should be able to do the studies right here within the United States government to show that they don't. And then at that point, we will have no choice but to change the language on the websites, because we cannot in good conscience continue telling people that something is safe and effective when we, the United States government, who are supposed to be here to protect them, they say, have proven otherwise. And so I just wonder, I have to hope, I guess, that this is part of like the look, just I don't want to say that RFK is being untrustworthy, but it's like you make the deals you need to make and you figure the rest out once you get confirmed, I would think.
Yeah, I really do believe to that point, it's got to get in.
Right.
Got to get in to make change from the inside. Have to get in to get line of sight, to get the data, to get the official title, the weight, the stick, the carrot, the stick, to swing at it. And what you're talking about is intellectual honesty has to come in. Double-blind studies.
Right.
And the truth is what it is at the end of that. And if a vaccine X, whichever, proves that this harms children, you scrap it. And you say on the site, do no longer take this. Like you get a notice from your auto dealership that says, hey, there's a recall on your brake pads. You may not want to drive. Bring your car in. Right? It's that kind of a thing. Look, and when that happens, what they're afraid of is the Flint, Michigan situation of mesothelioma. If your child had a vaccine between the years of 1992 and 2014, Johnson & Johnson is going to pay up, because that is going to happen. And that's what they're scared to death of, is the tarnishing of their brands and the pocketbook, Eric. Because that's coming, because these tests are going to show that some could maybe with a tweak or so continue to go, and others have literally killed people.
Right. But I don't like that Bill Cassidy is already getting his paws on meeting with RFK Jr. multiple times a month and making him sign off on vaccines do not cause autism. We're not changing any of the CDC's recommended stuff, as if we have the ability. Bro, you didn't get the memo. We don't trust any of you guys. Yeah. If you're a government expert, we don't trust you. I don't care if you have MD by your name. You don't need to be calling the shots anymore. We need an independent investigation of all of it.
Yeah, most definitely. Look, if it does turn out to be true, the American people should know that, right? And that's the main point that I want to touch on, is what you touched on there, Jaco, in that what they're afraid of is what happens after the fact. So let's say that it's a vaccine, or it could be just one for that matter, sure, right? If it's a major one that people were knowingly administering that did have some sort of side effect, parents are gonna especially be up in arms. I don't think, however, it's simply about like what's going on in children. I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to be looked at that people just willingly for years we just injected in our bodies each year, that I don't know if we know what's going on with that type of stuff. And if a random control trial or what have you does prove that, look, even if it's like, okay, you're going to leave it out there on the market, the American people should at least know kind of what could happen.
Informed consent.
Yes, exactly. So maybe there is a slight chance, and maybe it's an increased chance, and maybe sometimes it won't, but at least you have that informed consent. When you understand, especially people that have traveled abroad, you always see people documenting this stuff about like the food, for example, right? And they're like, I went in Italy and I was eating so-and-so for and I was actually eating more calories or not calories necessarily, but I was eating more out there.
And people who are gluten intolerant here and go to Italy and stuff their faces with all pastas and have no reaction.
They have no issues. Well, that's because, they're making it with different stuff, okay? And there are certain even versions of like the same brand of a thing, of a certain food, that they make it one way in our country and they make it in other countries a completely different way. And oftentimes it's more healthier, right? So why could that not be also attributed to like these vaccinations or anything else? And like you said, it could turn out that maybe some of these are okay. Fine. But I don't like the idea of just operating as if, well, this is what the CDC is saying, therefore it won't be changed. Well, no, if you're presented with some new information that does show that it needs to be changed, God damn it, excuse my language, it does need to be changed, and immediately. And I don't know what that looks like after the fact. Like it's like a dam, because if we do come to find out that a lot of this stuff was harming the people and the government was signing off on it, there's a lot of folks that are going to be justly like coming to collect. I think that's what they fear more than anything, because what that looks like, I don't exactly know.
Yeah, because I mean, imagine to Eric's point, just the uprising that you will have with all of these parents who now will be able to say, hold on, I vaccinated my children and my children were diagnosed with autism, and you guys told me that it was safe and that vaccines 100% don't cause autism. So now I'm seeking some sort of financial, like I have a special education child now that I've had to pay for this whole time. You could be to blame for that. You could be liable for that. You owe me something. And honestly, they'd be right.
Yes.
They'd be right. Because
you're talking about, there actually has been information, but we're learning that it's misinformation. So parents have acted upon what they thought was informed consent.
But it was.
The pediatrician said this is safe.
Exactly right.
It was not.
And why did he say it? Because the drug company told him that it was.
Because he gets a kickback.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like their whole house of cards comes tumbling down and falling down once parents actually have true informed consent. And so, yeah, you could imagine that Bill Cassidy, I wonder how much he's making from drug companies. I'd like to look into that. So you can imagine that all of these, big players within the CDC and those who associate with them, those who consider themselves respectable doctors, I have an MD behind my name, therefore I know more than you about all of these vaccines. And so you can imagine that they would be a little bit nervous for what's going to take place next. I say, oh well. Be nervous.
I think we hear on this show from Cassidy 2 months from now that he can't get RFK on the phone and he won't meet with him.
Yeah.
Well, he's confirmed. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have any.
Well, he's not confirmed. Once he
is confirmed, it won't matter. Like at that point, it's when I'm in.
And again,
Bobby, he's going to swing a hammer.
And again, I don't want to say I want him to be. I want him to intentionally lie, right?
No, of course not. But
there is a certain level of finesse you have to have when dealing with these senators and
politics.
He's politicking. He's playing politics.
Yes. So I'm like, okay, I'm trusting the plan. All right, President Trump, I'm trusting the plan. I'm just going to trust that this is all going to plan. And on that note, the latest on Tulsi Gabbard, because she's another one who has yet to be confirmed for DNI, Director of National Intelligence. There was one Republican holdout, Senator Todd Young, who was on the fence about Tulsi Gabbard, and apparently he has signaled that he will now back her. So she has cleared one more unofficial hurdle in being backed. And he said that he had a conversation with President Trump on the phone in which President Trump told him to vote his conscience, which.
Wow.
Okay. And now he says that he's indicating that he will back her. Of course, the vote has not officially, as of the time of this taping, taken place. But she is like 98% on the betting markets.
Yeah, look, I think ultimately they all get confirmed. These are more difficult ones. Kennedy, Tulsi, Linda McMahon, education, that's coming up. They postponed that's coming up. Those are big ones, and they have to go through. All of them have to be. Cash Patel, all these, they've got to go through There's a shellacking coming. I mean, they know that too. And to Eric's point, I just want to reiterate what you're saying. What is being done to the elderly in this country with medicine is absolutely...
It's not just with babies.
It's demonic.
Yeah.
Our food supply, it is...
They're poisoning all of us.
I mean, Monsanto should run for the hills. When Kennedy gets confirmed, they should pack up shop. All these guys. I mean, what they've done to the farming community, how they've treated farmers in middle America, the flyover states. I mean, it's retribution time.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, just a friendly reminder that every drug, I won't say vaccine, every single medicine drug that is on like the black box recall, not allowed to ever sell the drug again. To Jaco's point, they have the ads run that says, did you take this medicine from this year to this year? You could be owed some money. Every single one of those was deemed safe before it was not.
Yeah.
Every
It's
single
always
one.
been a terrible argument that for whatever reason we ran with for so long, or they ran with, like, hey, I am doctor and therefore my word is gospel.
Yeah.
And it's not how, like, you guys have historically got it wrong on so many issues forever.
Very important
You know,
issues.
it's called the practice of medicine.
Yeah.
They
Like
practice medicine, which means when you practice, you fail.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah. So it's like, your word isn't truth or gospel just because a bunch of y'all co-signed on it. And you would think, especially after what went down in 2020, where so many people got their hands caught in the cookie jar, so many people just got caught. I mean, just straight up lying to the American people that, sure, yeah, you're going to come with some sort of perspective that I don't have because you went to school for this.
Right, and
but
I
it doesn't.
respect that.
And yeah, I most definitely respect that. But that doesn't mean that just because you said it, it's righteous. Because even so, especially what happened in going on in 2020, like, even so, when there were doctors that like disagreed with you, you then disregarded them
from the same schools.
Yeah, they could be
Harvard
from the
medical grad.
same school. They could be from the same exact schools, right?
Same hospital.
And you would say, and some of which that are in this administration as well, that were ringing the alarm pretty early, and they were like Stanford doctors, they were told they were quacks.
Yep.
Just because not even because they disagreed with it, it was like they questioned it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we're supposed to believe that just because before some doctors that might not even be with us anymore co-signed a drug, and therefore it means that there's no side effects or nothing negative can happen, that is just bogus. And when you just analyze it just like you did, Sarah, when you like all of these drugs, just watch I don't know, Channel 5 during the day, and you probably see a bunch of commercials
10 of them.
Yeah, in a row that are referencing old drugs that people took that now they're saying, okay, man, these might not be safe. So what are they talking about, man?
Yeah. So the good news is, though, America is one step closer to maha. One step closer. We're almost there, guys. They've been poisoning us for a very long time, and with RFK, I fully believe it will stop. They will not do that anymore. All right, we got to take a quick break. I want to remind you guys, though, if you haven't yet, if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Okay, click the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. I know some of you are like, YouTube keeps unsubscribing me. Gosh, I don't know why they would ever do that. They love the content I put out. That's why we're not monetized at all and haven't been for almost 2 years.
Exactly.
Almost 2 years. And they're really going to love our conversation we just had about vaccines and the childhood CDC vaccine. They're really going to love that. So do me a favor. Not only would I like for you to make sure to hit the thumbs up button and, make sure to comment in the algorithm or help us in the algorithm, share the show. Okay, share the show with your people, and that'll help us out as well. All right, let's take a quick break. First, I want to thank our sponsor, Birch Gold. So, look, Birch Gold is there for those of you who you're excited about the future with President Trump in charge, but you realize that there are a lot of problems that President Biden created for us right before he left the door for a little snooze over in Delaware after he eats his pudding. Well, gold is a safe haven, not only in hard economic times, but also in thriving economic times, because it's just a really, really good thing to diversify in. It has hedged against an inflation like historically for forever. Okay. So go talk to Birch Gold. I work with them. My family has worked with them, and they've made it really, really easy. And what they can do is they can help you transition an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. It's not going to cost you a penny out of pocket. So Go text the word Sarah to 989898. You're going to get a free information kit on gold and a copy of the ultimate guide for gold in the Trump era with the foreword written by Donald Trump Jr. This is not an obligation, guys. There's no reason not to do it. You should all be getting out your phones and texting my name, the word Sarah, S-A-R-A, to 989898. So I had Congressman Brandon Gill on yesterday, and we were talking about the tariffs, and we were talking about the fact that, you know, Donald Trump had announced tariffs on both Mexico and Canada beginning, what was it, like Saturday or Sunday? And already, almost immediately, Mexico was like, okay, let's talk. And so they're now negotiating. And we couldn't even get the show to air without another victory in that regard, because the wins just keep coming faster than we can actually deliver them. Because while we were talking yesterday about Trump's tariff win with Mexico, he was just in the middle of striking his deal with Canada. So after his little talk with Justin Trudeau announced Canada's new $1.3 billion border plan. Oh, it turns out that you can actually enforce the law at the border. So reinforcements will include new choppers technology. They will deploy nearly 10,000 frontline personnel to protect the border. They will have enhanced coordination with America and increased resources to stop the flow of fentanyl, along with launching a precursor chemical detection unit. They're going to list cartels as terrorists as well and launch a Canada-U.S. strike force to combat organized crime and fentanyl. And in exchange for that, Trump has agreed to pause the tariffs against Canada for 30 days. It's almost like this guy's a great negotiator. And instead of panicking, everyone should just sit back and let him do what he very clearly has very well thought out what he was going to do. My opinion. I'd love to hear you guys's.
Yeah, it's also, he understands the nature of the beast. He understands that Trudeau's a poofter, complete utter poofter, that you can handle a guy like that very different than you handle a little rocket man or a Putin, for instance. There's ways and means. It's horses for courses, and he understands that they really wield no power. They've all kissed the ring, and all of them have to go answer to someone else to go, oh crap, what did you just allow to happen? 25% tariff, 50% tariff, because he knows America will cripple these countries. There is no Canada if we don't do trade with Canada. They do become the 51st state. Right. I mean, there is no Canada. So what I love about it is the 30-day deal. It's like, you got 30 days.
Yep, exactly.
You play nice, I give you another 30 days.
Right.
You know, it's just don't let
We're not dropping it.
Don't let them get off the hot seat. I mean, it's time, you know, because how do you reconcile, still for me today, you know, I value life like crazy. How do you reconcile for the American children that died from fentanyl because they didn't protect the northern and the southern border? Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a way of making them, no, they gotta step up.
Yeah, there's also a little bit of finesse from Trudeau's, and it's not to give him credit. It's just, I'm just going to give you the facts. That money that they had allocated, they announced that in December. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that. So I do believe there was a conversation being had there, and he knew that, look, I can at least come out on top by, you know, I don't know, just saying, hey, we're going to do all this. I spoke with Trump, yada, yada. But to be fair, a lot of that stuff, the only thing that I don't think was a part of that was this whole, we're going to call the cartels terrorist organization. I think that's a new,
yes.
that is a new thing that they specifically discussed, right? So great. The only thing is, and about this whole tariff conversation, which I don't want to lose sight of, Mexico and even, well, Canada and Mexico are small potatoes when it comes to China, right? And what they produce. China, for a lot of people that don't know, got an additional tariff as well.
Yeah.
They ain't budge worth shit. Okay? And those are they're the major player. In comparison.
Horses for courses, different.
They haven't, but the only thing that they did was gripe to the WTO, which they did the last time this happened, which they didn't budge. A lot of people don't know. The highest tariffs that we put on China happened by Trump in 2018, right? It was the same thing that he's doing right now, essentially what he already did. A lot of those tariffs even stayed in place. China hasn't budged,
Right?
Because they don't have to,
Well,
and that's the one that I want. I want to figure out how exactly we're going to deal with, because it's not even an elephant in the room. That's the room.
So then let's go through some of this, because I do have some numbers here that I think we may win you over, Eric. Maybe not. But let me just go through, because some of these, it just sounds scary. But when you look at the numbers, I don't think that they hold as much power as they think that they do. So
I've already called China a paper tiger. I've been said that.
Right.
But
So,
most people don't listen to me. They always say, well, we can't do X and X because China might do something.
well, okay, so China did. So China did. All right.
You're
So
right.
they have retaliatory tariffs. They did. They placed a 15% tariff on liquefied natural gas, 10% on automobiles. So the U.S. is the world's largest exporter of liquid natural gas, and China is the largest importer of LNG. But in 2023, China only got 2.3% of its total LNG exports from the United States.
Because they bought it from Russia.
Right. Correct.
They bought it from Putin.
Right.
They're bankrolling Putin.
So let's look at the automobiles. Okay. 2023, the US exported 1.65 million vehicles, $66 billion worth of vehicles, and only 2% of all US auto exports went to China. It's like 33,000.
I looked at this 2 days ago. 5 largest auto companies, top 5 are all Chinese auto companies. They make their own vehicles. Mm-hmm. They're not importing from us.
Right.
And to your point, there's a different strategy that has to be applied on China. Just tariffs, not
No, they ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna do it. It's just not. And I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I know the answer. Right.
Well, it's definitely repatriating manufacturing.
Right. Well, that's the
by
big thing.
deregging this.
And this is the point that I made that a lot of people get a little pissy at me about, because in order for you to combat China, it's not going to happen in a way of a tariff. You could tax them 100%, much like you do with North Korea. It wouldn't stop them from being as dominant as what they are. If you want to unleash the American economy, that's going to come in the form of the deregulation,
Yep.
tax, getting rid of a lot of these taxes, and so forth. And I think that has to be the conversation. So I think what I don't want people, and yes, that's what I'm here on the show to do, right? Because I get it. We want to do a victory lap. We talk about Canada, and I'm not saying you shouldn't take some sort of victory in that. What I'm saying, comparatively, if you're going to argue this whole, well, tariffs, and as far as how effective it's going to be, China is the big dog here. Like, that's the one, like, if it was going to be effective, go ahead and charge them 100%. And you realize that shit ain't going to do now nothing. Reason being is because pretty much every other country goes to them. And while, yes, if you lose the American market, you're going to lose a major consumer market. But I need people to understand, all of the other big countries, for example, that have high populations, they're all getting their manufacturing from China as well. Asia is, and it's not just China, to be fair. Asia in general is where so many of these manufacturing jobs. It's India, it's China, it's Vietnam, or it's just random Asian countries that just go look on anything that you buy under your cup or whatever. It's like manufactured in Asian country, right?
But Eric, they can afford it. They can afford a 4-year hit of a high tariff, which a Mexico cannot.
Well, yeah, correct. Yes.
Here's why they can afford it. We import every mango in this country comes from Mexico. By the way, it gets radiated at the border. Bobby, please fix that, okay? So a mango farmer can't just give you a lesser quality mango like that. The product China has been producing for America is utter total garbage.
Yes.
They have so cut the quality that they've got margin.
Yep.
They've got margin to give away. You want to charge us?
Charge us.
We've been raping you economically for 15 years. Okay,
You're not
so
wrong. I'm
charge us.
glad he's saying it. He's not
No,
wrong.
this
It's
is
a
it.
reality.
They've
Yeah.
got room, so you can't negotiate with them that way.
Yeah.
You need to bleed them dry by bringing business back here, by
Agreed.
deregging
1000%.
the heck out of this place, manufacture here, then they are up a creek.
Yeah.
Which, to my knowledge, is the plan.
Has to be.
I mean, that's
it
what
has
we
to
ran
be. I
on.
mean, I know we've talked about that whole
Problems to solve in order to do that. We don't
sure.
have the labor force. We don't have the,
Sure.
Well, yeah, and that's the point. Like, why I've always said that. Look, it's not a thing that's going to happen overnight.
No.
That I need people to understand, because people need to understand how bad it got and why it got so bad. And it wasn't just look. While I do understand that the whole slave labor is a thing that you have to combat, I don't think people understand how much it costs to get stuff over here anyway, minus the tariffs, right? China isn't just benefiting from being able to pay people cheaper. No, because air freight costs a lot, boats cost a lot as well. And ultimately, when it all said and done, when you start accumulating all those fees, you'll start to realize that, damn, it ain't that much of a difference, right? In the first place, as far as their manufacturing. But what does happen is that the American people here are taxed to hell. It's been this way. Did you guys know? I was looking at something the other day. The lowest corporate tax rate that we have right now, which is what we got, I believe it was active in 2018 with Trump, was I believe what 22% or something like that. That's only like 3% off of what China has. Long before then. And this is what you have to try to, why it's not going to happen overnight. People need to understand that. When you look at, we're going to have an honest discussion about manufacturing and why it got so bad here. Okay. For I don't know how long, right? I think it's 31 years. The corporate tax rate was among the highest in the world, right? And like 35%. And even before then, right? You're going into like, that was like Reagan, where I believe was floating around like 30 some percent. But before then, you're talking 40, 50%. Even in the 50s, going into 60s, it was 50% corporate income tax, among the highest in the world. Don't take my word for anything, America. Go look it up. So when you listen to what the American, especially with the federal government, has basically discouraged people to be entrepreneurs in this country for decades. For decades. So if we're going to have an honest conversation about manufacturing, right, it's not simply about, well, they charge less and that's how they beat us. No, your federal government you. And they have been doing it for decades, discouraging you. And people need to understand, as far as manufacturing, and you'll feel me on this. I know I'm going on a tangent here. Sorry. But you'll feel me on this, Sarah. It's not just, when it comes to overseas manufacturing, it's not just the big, massive companies that are going to these other countries. It's small ones as well, mainly because the infrastructure here, and I'm not talking about like infrastructure in like internet or something. No, I'm saying
supply chain.
The legitimate, the actual supply chain isn't even here, like at all. It's not there. As in, it's not like, well, I could pay someone and it's going to cost more. It's like, no, they don't have it to produce at a mass level because they've gotten rid of it. The toy market is obviously one that impacts me the biggest. That used to be in be able to, all that old Star Wars stuff. They used to produce all that stuff here, and it didn't take long. By the way, guys, Star Wars came out in a lot of our viewers' lifetimes. Right, that was not that long ago. Everything now is produced in China. Everything, top to bottom. There may be some Indian ones. It's Asian, probably 98% Asia. It's not produced here. You in order to I guess try to change that course, it's gonna come by way of deregulation and stuff, but also people need to understand that's not a thing that they change and then all that stuff gets brought here tomorrow.
Right.
Because it took longer than that for it to get exported in the first place.
Yeah.
So people need to be realistic. And this is also fair to Trump as well, because I don't want people to be like, well, he'll deregulate something, right? And then it doesn't happen overnight. Right. And then people are like, well, I thought this was going to fix it.
Right.
Look how long they screwed things up.
Yes. Yeah, exactly right. Which again, I would just say is my pitch to just, that's why we need JD Vance. After Donald Trump leaves
it's gonna
office,
take more than 4 years.
We need JD Vance, and then JD Vance again, and then hell, throw Ron DeSantis in there after that. I don't care. We don't need to see another Democrat president.
Maybe ban Trump.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How about it?
I think you probably see a Charlie Kirk up there before you see that. I think there's a JD Vance Charlie ticket coming.
Really?
I'm
sorry. I was just processing
just
that.
Wanted to throw that out there.
Okay. All right.
Starting to play the long game.
Finally. Okay, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more, but we want to thank our sponsor, My Patriot Supply. So listen, I feel like you guys, as my audience, I don't need to sell you on the fact that you need an emergency supply of food, of medicine. You just need like your basic supplies. You definitely want on hand in the event of an emergency, and you can't wait until there is a crisis. You can't just wait. You wait until there's a crisis. All the stores are out of toilet paper and food and everything. And you're like, what am I going to do? Don't be that person. That's why you need to go to My Patriot Supply. They've got a 4-week emergency food kit that is going to give you the nutrition you need to stay strong in a crisis. And you need one for each member of your family. Okay. They're offering right now $50 off of their 4-week food kit. Go check them out at preparewithsarah.com. Remember, there's no H in Sarah. That's just an unnecessary letter. You don't say Sarah. preparewithsarah.com. Don't wait until there's an emergency. Preparewithsarah.com. I think Eric scared Jaco off.
Sorry, America.
He had to. I'm kidding. He had to go. So, so Eric, you're here along for the full ride. Let's talk about. I mentioned the deportation counter at the beginning of the show. Day 14, 9,780. Only millions and millions to go, but it's fine because we've got border czar Tom Homan at the helm of things, and I very much do. Believe in his ability to be able to get the job done based off of what he has done so far. So, you had New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, who was like, well, I'm taking in illegals now because I want to protect them. Look at me. I'm such a savior. I want to play some of that. Watch.
Tammy and I were talking about, I don't want to get into too much detail, but there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to. And we said, you know what, let's have her live at our house above our garage. And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
In the attic?
Above our garage. Like, wait, why can't she just live with you?
I don't know. Maybe do people just out there just have rooms like that? I mean, some places do, I'd imagine. But
he's like, oh, no. We don't let her in the actual house.
Yeah.
No, she stays in the attic. And we open the door, throw up some water, and close it again because we don't really want to associate with her. We do it for virtue signaling. So he's like, hey, I'm harboring illegals, basically, right? And border czar Tom Homan actually responded to that. Watch.
I think the government's pretty foolish saying what he said because I got note of it. Won't let it go. We'll look into it. And if he's knowingly harboring, concealing an illegal alien, that's a violation of Title 8 United States Code 1324. I would seek prosecution, or the Secretary would seek prosecution. So maybe he's bluffing. If he's not, we'll deal with that. And as far as suing sanctuary cities, well, get in line because the Trump administration is going to do that already. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. There's one example. Right? If the young sanctuary cities in New York City, if they would have gave us over the killer of Laken Riley when he got arrested in New York City for endangering a child, he would have been in jail. And he would have never killed Laken Riley. Sanctuary cities are responsible for deaths of thousands of young children throughout my career. And we're going to sue him. We're going to hold him. And look, if he's got to go to the Supreme Court, that's what President Trump wanted to do. He will end sanctuary cities.
So he says if you're going to harbor illegals as the governor, as a state, as a city, we're just going to sue you because the adults are back in charge now. This has never happened before. There's never been a prosecution against a sitting governor from Homeland Security and Immigration's Customs and Enforcement. But I would imagine that this would come from the AG. You would think, because that's how it was before with Merrick Garland. So we'll see. But I mean, I very much trust that Tom Homan means what he says and says what he means. He just seems like he's been that type of guy so far.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they at least look into it, like you said. That was a bonehead thing to just explicitly state like that with a microphone, literal microphone, in your hand to say that you are harboring a bunch of people that aren't really supposed to be here. That was a weird, bizarre thing to say because it's like if any of us did that, the feds is going to be knocking on our door like, you're done, you're cooked. So for someone that's in a position like him.
And you're like, hey, I don't pay my taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
I just don't like it. Did you not think you'd get like a call, a letter from the IRS the next day? They're like, we're auditing you.
Yes.
Okay.
Can't do that. So that was, a very bold thing for them to state. But look, really, we're talking about this whole concept of just trying to protect, I guess, people that are here illegally, especially in your own home, which is, look, what I've encouraged you guys to do anyway, right? So it's interesting that it's not actually in the home and it's in the attic, but whatever. Kudos to you, I guess. Because I think people would have less problems if that was really what was going on. But that's not what really happens, is it, though, Sarah? It's usually, well, these people are kind of caught, then freed. And then, unfortunately, the actual criminals, they end up doing something that is just, like this way you brought up Laken Riley, right? That's what you end up getting when you don't actually deal with the problem. I wonder if this is going to lead to some sort of big kind of conflict between the federal government and some of these other folks.
No, you would hate to see that.
I know, right? But the thing is, everybody, she's being sarcastic, America. I love to see that, by the way. But seriously, like when this, definitely with all these states, and a lot of them kind of mooch off. I won't say mooch off the federal government because it's ironic the federal government is stealing from them and them holding a lot of their money
off of us.
Hostage, right? But there's a lot of money going back and forth there, and you wonder if it does become one of those situations where, you know, Trump has been pretty open about, look, we'll just start withholding funds. Right. We'll start freezing all sorts of stuff. You want to act this way, right? You don't want to get in line, which is what I prefer. Like, start withholding funds. And look, maybe these these cities and maybe these states are able to exist on their own without that sort of assistance, which does nothing but make my argument. If they can't do it, great. But it does nothing but make my argument. If you can, you'll be perfectly fine without mooching off the taxpayer. So go give it a shot.
Yeah, well, especially because I'm like, hey, here in the state of Texas, we've been dying to be able to protect and defend our own border. We don't want these people here. Yeah. So why should my taxes go to fund your inability to like create sound policy that's going to protect your own people? Yeah. That's dumb.
No, it's just quite literally retarded. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And that's why I do like the idea of them withholding funds. And I know that the authoritarian left is going to be very adamant. They are with this whole USA. You're seeing that right now. Like anytime anybody threatens their bacon, they start tripping out. Like they start all the skies falling.
Hysterical.
Yeah, like they get crazy when you start threatening. It's like we're just going to not give you money. That's just what we're going to do. So I hope that is a deployed tactic by them and this administration. We'll see if that pertains to like how they're handling this immigration stuff, but I'd love for it to be deployed all the time.
Yeah. And so I do want to get into the USAID stuff, but before we go, I do want to show the difference in border crossings from Joe Biden to I can't read that. Biden's last 19-day average, 2,087 border crossings. President Trump's first 9 days average 126. That's literally all it takes. That's a 94% drop. That's all it takes. You just enforce what's on the books. That's all you have to do. It really is that simple. Remember Joe Biden was like, I need Congress to act. I need Congress to write me a bill. No. You just go out and do the job that you're supposed to have been doing this whole time. It's really that easy. All right, we got to take a quick break. Let's get back into the U.S. aid when we return. As Eric mentioned, the Democrats quickly in a panic when all their money laundering operations go away, I guess, because the USAID has some explaining to do with all of the wasteful spending they're doing with a budget in 2025 of $30 billion. And so that's insane.
That is unbelievable.
It's insane.
That should piss off every person that's watching this. Right?
That's what I said earlier today. I'm like, this should be a bipartisan issue. Yeah. This is everyone's taxpayers. This is not Republican taxpayers. Right. This is not just Democrat taxpayers. This is everyone's tax money going to fund all these other pet projects halfway around the world. And so one of those Democrats is friend of the program, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who, she's very dumb. Here is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Elon Musk. Watch.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed.
How many billionaires have you met or seen or witnessed?
You could probably even glean that from watching these people on TV.
Could you?
Anyways,
I know what I'm looking at right now.
Is that they don't do their homework. Clearly. Like they're putting 19-year-olds in at the Treasury. This dude is not smart. And the danger in the lack of intelligence and the lack of expertise.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm looking at.
That
bartender
Elon has. I mean, this guy is one of the most morally vacant, but also just
see the hamsters
spinning.
Least knowledgeable about these systems. That
the hamsters. The wheel's broken. The wheel's broken. The hamster's hitting the wheel. It's not there anymore. It's dead. And that was, of course, one of the people that New York has chosen to represent them. Doesn't say a whole lot of good things for that district in New York. So it wasn't just AOC. Chuck Schumer he got all upset now, too. He was one of the most hysterical ones. Here's Chuck Schumer on Elon.
And the American people, mark my words, the American people will not stand for an unelected secret group to run rampant through the executive branch.
Oh, kind of like the deep state in Donald Trump's first term.
Being innovative is good. But Mr. Musk, this isn't a tech startup. These are public institutions that deal with things like Social Security and Medicare and national defense and provide for the well-being of the American people. And the American people have a right to be part of that debate.
I love that. Oh, hold on. Now we have a right to be part of the debate where you spend our money? That's so crazy because I've literally never heard that from you. He's like, well, when it's your money you're spending, that's fine. When it's everyone else's money that you're spending, that we've been spending this whole time, all of a sudden we get a say? That's news to me. So I want to play for you, Eric, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who read off some of the ridiculous things that they have been spending our money on. Watch.
Through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on. $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplaces.
Oh, great.
$70,000 for a production of a DEI musical in Ireland.
I bet that sucked.
$47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia.
I bet that sucked too.
$32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. I don't know about you, but as an American taxpayer, I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
Let me read you a few more, Eric. All right. $30 million for a South African research facility that studied HIV among sex workers and transgender people. $10 million for Facebook diplomacy in the Philippines. $26 million for a llama breeding project in Peru. $15 million for farming classes for women in Afghanistan. $30 million for Havana Film School in Cuba.
Unbelievable. Like, your money is quite literally being pissed away, right?
Yeah.
And everybody should be, just absolutely up in arms over this stuff.
Isn't it so crazy that Democrats try to act like Americans should be mad that this is getting taken away?
Well, what trips me out is that he doesn't universalize that position on anything. Do you think that the people, I hope the American people don't think that the people that write these bills that they all vote for, these ridiculous, 500-page or whatever, that the actual Congress folk that you voted for are the ones that are writing that.
Yeah.
No, they're all unelected. Every single one of them. So now all of a sudden, because all they're doing, that Doyle is tasked with doing, is putting a spotlight on things and identifying it. Now you're like, well, we have an issue. Well, you should have an issue, because how the hell are you spending $32,000? I don't know, guys. I think I know a little bit about comic books. It don't cost $32,000 to make no damn comic book, especially a gay one. Number one, because I know it's not like you're getting the top art on that anyway. And by the way, I looked it up. I tried to find, what is this damn Peru gay comic book? It doesn't exist. It's
a money laundering operation.
That's all it's ever been. They're giving money to their friends.
Yes.
That's it. That thing hasn't even come into fruition. Nobody knows what this transgender or gay LGBT alphabet comic book in Peru is even gonna be. They don't know. Nobody knows.
That's because they've just enriched all of their friends and cronies.
They're there for.
That's how it's always worked. And that's how it always will work until the American people, which I believe they just did, stand up and say, we're not going to do this anymore. We need someone to come in and root it out. And Chuck Schumer's like, Americans are scared. No, we're not. If that means less taxes for me, I am so excited. We're not scared, Chuck.
Talk about it.